beautiful and complex gardens of life. These fragile ecosystems house an astonishing array of living creatures. They are among the most important biological sites on Earth, providing habitat for countless fish and invertebrates. Even rainforests pale in comparison to the sheer number of species coral reefs contain. They are indeed nature's richest realm. Today, we'll journey to the Cayman Islands, site of one of the Caribbean's finest coral reef ecosystems. We'll study a fascinating mosaic of marine life, from the depths of the Cayman Trench to the shallow reef just a few inches below the surface. We'll also descend into dark waters at night to examine the coral reef's nocturnal residents. And finally, we'll look at efforts to create an artificial reef with the sinking of a former Russian warship. Today, on Undersea Explorer. Life began in the sea, and today, warm tropical waters still provide an ideal environment for life on Earth. Tiny coral polyps form limestone structures that provide habitat to an unparalleled diversity of colorful and exotic species. When a diver or snorkeler swims over a coral reef, the sheer abundance of life creates a spectacle difficult to imagine. First to dazzle the eyes are the many species of brightly colored fish. The reefs provide them with shelter, protection from predators, and food. Upon closer inspection, a new realm is discovered in the reef's jagged surface, the domain of the marine invertebrate. This is where some of the world's most exquisite and bizarre creatures make their home. Coral reefs are certainly one of our planet's greatest natural attractions. Due to their abundance of species and immense ecological complexity, they are frequently compared to tropical rainforests. But in terms of sheer abundance of visible animal life, even the mighty rainforests take a back seat. To observe and film a coral reef, we travel to the Western Caribbean and the British colony of the Cayman Islands. Flying over the main island of Grand Cayman, a shallow fringing reef is visible just below the surface. These reefs quickly drop off to unimaginable depths, a vast undersea trough called the Cayman Trench. The islands are the peaks of a submerged mountain range. Vertical walls plummet from only a few feet near shore to almost 5 miles in depth. To study marine life and shipwrecks that lie beyond depths accessible to scuba divers, scientists must rely on small, deep-diving submarines. At Grand Cayman, we boarded 2 PC-8 research submersibles. Both are former oil industry vessels, now used to transport passengers into the famed Cayman Trench. The PC-8 is a 1-atmosphere submersible, which experiences no change in pressure, allowing dives to as deep as 1,000 feet without the use of special gases or decompression stops.
Right now we're just maneuvering over to the dive site and get right over the top of the wreck, so when we drop down and we're in blue water, we know exactly where we're at. Because obviously once I'm in blue water, I don't have any reckoning on any of the landforms. So I want to get pretty much the general area where I want to start the dive before I open my vents.
Releasing ballast, the sub slowly drifts downward along a shallow slope. At 200 feet, light begins to dissipate, and the waters become a deep blue color. At 300 feet, the slope steepens into an almost vertical wall, a drop-off that plummets 6,000 feet to the ocean bottom. After a few hundred feet, the concentration of corals and other marine animals begins to taper off. Life at these depths is directly related to the amount of daylight that penetrates the water. At approximately 200 to 300 feet, the sub enters a zone called the sponge belt. Here, sponges sheltered from the turbulent waters of the shallows can grow to massive sizes. An enormous elephant ear sponge, hundreds of years old, measures over 15 feet across and 18 feet from top to bottom. A tube sponge stretches out almost 10 feet from the edge of the reef. Marine life zonation is clearly evident during the descent, as some species disappear and others make their debut. At 700 feet, we discover the first of several deep-dwelling animals. A gigantic sea fan spreads its branches outward to catch tiny particles of food suspended in the water. Even though it looks like a plant, the Gorgonian sea fan is actually a colonial animal, made up of thousands of individual polyps. At 1,000 feet, there is little sign of life. But roaming about the bottom, we encounter a few species, including a very rare creature, a stalked crinoid. Long thought to be extinct, fossil remains of these large crinoids have proven to be over 500 million years old. No one had ever seen a live specimen until a Norwegian naturalist snagged one in a net in the late 1800s. Like the sea fan, crinoids are not simple plants, but rather more complex animals that feed on plankton. Standing from 3 to 5 feet tall, they raise a crown of feeding appendages into the light current, supported by an erect stalk. Doubling back, we encounter the eerie remains of a ship, the Kirk Pride, a freighter that sank in a storm in 1976. Totally intact, it is solidly wedged in place by several pinnacles on a flat shelf at 800 feet. It was not found until a submarine pilot stumbled upon it by accident in 1986. In the wheelhouse, the ship's telegraph is forever fixed in the all-stop position. The engineer's lever is frozen in the abandoned ship position. In the main cargo hold, a battered car is all that remains of the ship's former cargo. The rest of the cargo spilled out of the hold as the ship crashed and rolled to the bottom. On the top deck, a delicate madrasis coral clings to a ship's line. A very deep-dwelling animal, the madrasis is as fragile as fine porcelain, taking decades to grow only a few inches. After visiting the wreck of the Kirk Pride, our pilot maneuvers the submarine back up the steep wall. Slowly ascending, light once again became visible from the surface. In the Cayman Islands, we joined the live-aboard diving vessel Cayman Aggressor 3. Designed for extended stays at sea, we traveled through the islands over a period of 7 days. Individual coral animals, most of which exist in colonies, are the primary building blocks of the reef. Beautiful living corals that adorn the reef are actually a very small part of the overall structure. They form a thin veneer that overlies a solid limestone foundation. This platform is composed of past coral generations, as well as numerous reef-dwelling animals. Sponges have the least complex body structure of all multicellular creatures. Nature's vacuum cleaner, they are extremely efficient filter feeders. Water is drawn through the sponge's surface into its interior. As water passes through, food and oxygen are filtered out. The water exits into the body's interior cavity and out the animal's one or more large excurrent openings. A typical sponge can pump water equal to 4 to 5 times its own volume every minute. Sponges come in all shapes, sizes, and colors. Some are quite small, while others, like the barrel sponge, can attain a height of over 6 feet. In the jagged recesses of the reef, more complex animals use the coral structures for shelter and food. The most frequently observed crustaceans are the decapods. Their family includes shrimp, crabs, and lobsters. The largest Caribbean species is the channel-clinging crab. Also known as a king or coral crab, this reef resident spends its days hiding under ledges or in caves. Lobsters are another common crustacean found on the reef. They are called decapods because they have 5 pairs of legs. They do not have claws for protection, but rely on sharp spikes that cover their carapace, hence their name, the spiny lobster. Above the reefs hover an astonishing variety of schooling fish. Some are nocturnal feeders that rest during the day, congregating in large groups for protection. Larger fish, like the grouper, are the kings of the reef. They are the best-known members of the sea bass family. Grouper are solitary carnivores that live near the bottom. They're hermaphroditic, beginning life as females, but changing to males with maturity. The best time to view a reef is at night. Daylight tends to dull the vibrant colors of coral and other marine animals. With the aid of artificial light, the true vivid colors of the reef come alive. Creatures not seen during the day come out at night to forage for food. Normally shy, crabs and lobsters scavenge around the reef. The channel crab moves about, feeding on whatever it can find. One of the smallest and most bizarre residents are arrow crabs. With long spider-like legs, the arrow crab measures only a few inches across. On a sand flat beside the reef, a lone lobster makes its way across the bottom. Caught in the open during the day, it would make an easy meal for a large fish. Lobster populations are declining in many parts of the Caribbean due to overharvesting. However, in the Cayman Islands, they are protected and flourish in great numbers. A basket star spreads its long arms into the light currents, filtering the water of minute animals. They have 5 arms that repeatedly subdivide into numerous branches, resembling tentacles. This striking specimen is a juvenile drumfish. They have an extremely elongated front dorsal fin that makes them a tempting target for larger fish. Many fish actually sleep at night. Some find a hiding place before they fall asleep, while others simply drop to the bottom, where they are easy prey for eels and other predators. Sea turtles, although rare in other parts of the world, are a relatively common sight in the Cayman Islands. The green sea turtle is one of 6 species found in the wider Caribbean region. The Cayman Islands are one of the few places in the world that actively breed sea turtles. Endangered species are raised in captivity for eventual release into the wild. Perhaps the most striking animal at night is the reef octopus. They hide during the day and never venture out into the open unless it's dark. Here, a vibrantly colored specimen displays its remarkable hunting techniques. Creating a net with its 8 arms, the octopus engulfs a fish. The reef octopus's camouflage abilities are legendary. They can change color swiftly and dramatically, often to blend in with their surroundings. Of all invertebrates, the octopus has the most highly evolved nervous system. It is widely believed that their intelligence is equal to or greater than that of the common house cat. Between coral reefs lie sandy areas called flats. Here, a number of unusual species eke out a living in a harsh, almost desert-like setting. Tiny garden eels sway in the light currents. They continuously move in graceful, wave-like motions to catch plankton. These very shy creatures are difficult to approach and quickly recede into their dens when disturbed. They live in large colonies of hundreds, sometimes thousands of animals. Another burrowing species is the jawfish. They inhabit areas of coral boulders and sand, never venturing very far from the safety of their dens. A goatfish uses a pair of barbels under its mouth to dig in sand and around areas of rubble. Snails are by far the largest class of mollusks, containing more than 35,000 species. A queen conch uses its siphon-like mouth to sort through debris for food. Stingrays frequent sandy areas, often covering themselves with sand to avoid detection. They have a venomous spine at the base of their tail that can immobilize an attacking shark. One of the world's most famous dive sites is located in a shallow sandy flat near Grand Cayman. For over 10 years, Stingray City has delighted snorkelers and divers with an exciting animal encounter. The population of Stingray City and other nearby sites has grown to over 150 animals. The friendly rays are a delight, although they are frequently aggressive in their search for food. In their quest for a tasty morsel of squid, the rays go from diver to diver, swirling around until the food is discovered. A dive master with squid is like a Pied Piper of sorts, with several rays in tow. The reason for this unique behavior is no mystery. For decades, fishermen have anchored on the flats to clean their catch. The rays discovered discarded scraps of fish, and through years of conditioning, now associate boats with food. Even though they do have a venomous spine on their tails, the rays have proven to be harmless, with no recorded incidents. The only danger here are the ravenous fish that hang around looking for food. Although the Cayman Islands enjoy a healthy coral reef ecosystem, diving pressure has begun to create problems. Corals and sponges can easily be damaged with a careless kick of a diver's fin. In order to alleviate diving pressure on the island's more popular sites and to increase tourism to the small island of Cayman Brac, the government purchased and sank a former Russian warship as an artificial reef. Artificial reef programs have proven to be a great success in many areas of the world, including southern Florida and Canada's Pacific coast.
This is topside, Rob, and Jim, we have you loud and clear, over.
That's really deep.
The ship was mothballed by the Soviets, and it faced an undignified fate in a Cuban scrapyard. Sold by the Cubans to the Cayman government, the ship was then carefully readied for a safe, ecologically sound sinking. A product of Russia's Atlantic Fleet, the 330-foot missile frigate had a top speed of over 60 knots. In the days when it was operational, the ship carried a crew of 11 officers and 99 enlisted men. Now her passageways and quarters await new residents, fish, invertebrates, and other undersea creatures.
Coming up on the ship here, looks like they did a remarkable job of sinking it. There's just a slight list to port, otherwise it's perfectly upright. An interesting thing about this shipwreck is a number of the areas have been cordoned off to make it hard for diver access, and I guess that's a safety concern, and I can well see it's a really complicated ship inside. There's so many different passageways that it'd be very easy to get lost. As you can see, a number of species of fish have moved in as well. Probably in a few years, all this top decking here that's exposed to the currents will be completely encrusted in various types of coral.
This destroyer of peace, a former machine of war, is now a haven for marine life. Over time, this ship will become an impressive artificial reef.